This live stream right here, yeah, this live stream, it may or may not be for you, but consider this: the old and the young, the divide between the old and the young, bridging the gap. Many of us have heard the stories of the old timers versus the young timers, and people not being able to come together. You know, understanding that there's common ground between us, there's commonalities that exist. As far as us looking at who we once were, but we're going to bed, but just saying goodnight. Thank you, Monster Chick. Thank you, Pet Monster. Appreciate you for coming through, just saying goodnight. Appreciate you, Caesar. Here we are. This is where we at right now. So, this is the live stream you've been waiting for. You survived your surgery. That's good. What's going on, Creative Redundancy? Thank you for being here. I'll make the attempt to make this nice and sweet, maybe even short. I don't know how long I'm going to go with this live stream, but it'll be long enough to make an impact. So, the divide between the old and the young. Generations past, generations of now, and what will be in the future. So many times we have so many issues about how things once were, and how people are doing things today. We're not understanding, that, we have commonalities. We have things that we can agree on. Hey, Molly Dolly, appreciate you for coming through. I mean, we don't have to have issues with each other just because of age. No, 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 none of that. I won't have any of that. I appreciate the offer though, but I'm good. But yeah, like I was saying, so many times I see people out there, youngins, maybe, going at it with old timers because of stuff like that. I know you're trying to be funny, Caesar, but nah, none will be sold here. I get it. I definitely get it. I don't know. I just see so many times when people are going about their business, and just not understanding each other, understanding that, for the oldest perspective, we once were the younger ones that we look at. We were you at one point. And for the younger ones, when you look at us, at some point you will be us. You will be the ones, it's like Dr. Dre said in the song, I remember, back when you're looking at these youngsters back when that was us. Now they calling us busters. So we look at ourselves, in these youth, seeing us how we rebelled against certain things, and we raged against the machine or had issues with authority and stuff like that, and then now we become the responsible figures, or the stalwarts, the guardians, the keepers of the keys of the gates, or whatever the case may be. It becomes interesting. It's important for us, the folks that are older, not to forget what it was like to be young, to be kids, to not know things, to not understand stuff. And it's important for the youth to understand that, you will get older. There will be a day when your perspective, and as fresh as it is, as unique as it may seem, is something of the past, just like that in a split second. Nah, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need anything. But I appreciate that offer. So yeah, like I was saying, you have a situation where, you're looking at, the past, the present, and the future in one, as we deal with each other. At some point, be it who we are, however we may get down, we are we are some version of ourselves, in this time, be it the past, the present, the future. It's like an old timer told me one time, um, we're only three people in this life, who we were, who we are, and who we will be. So, in any event, however you see it, at some point, we are, one and the same, just at different points in our lives, going through, various experiences. It just looks different because, now folks are online, and there's a social media aspect of it when it comes to bridging the gap or the divide between the old and the young. Understanding that, none of the experiences that we haven't, or we've had as older folks or younger folks, or soon to be born into the world are new. None of these things are new. Just be it, with how people used to do it back in their day, and how youngins wear their hairstyle, or what type of relationships they choose to be in, or whether you want to be religious or not religious. None of these things are new. You know, in society through many generations, through many centuries. There have been young people, there have been old people, there have been crippled people, there have been lame people. It's important to try to find the commonalities in this life. Mm. There will always be somebody who wants to rebel. There will always be somebody who wants to try to teach the youth and steer them in the right direction, as well as the person that's trying to steer them in the wrong direction. There will be people inside of generations that that are youth that want to change things and make things different. There's some people who are youths that want to make things worse. You know, it's really about finding the commonalities and bridging the gap and understanding, where we stand, where we are, who we are as people, seeing the bigger picture, seeing each other as human beings, knowing that we all can learn from each other. Just because we get older doesn't mean you can't learn from the youth. You know, and just because the youth may not always feel like they have something to offer, doesn't mean they can't teach, or learn from the older folks or whatever the case may be. It's kind of interesting when you see it. Sometimes it's just a matter of having a conversation, sitting down and talking, and just really, rapping the taste and conversing, with what's going on in today's generation. Because, you know, just like we need the youth need us as well. There's things that we know, from some of us that are in our 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s that you could pass down to people, who are in their teens, in their adolescence, even their early 20s and stuff like that. There's so much stuff that I wish I would have paid attention to, coming up as a youngster. Wish I would have had, more positive role models and stuff like that. Yes, creative redundancy. It goes hand in hand, and it really does. It is a situation where, if we just took more time out to really converse with each other and just listen to the stories, and as far as the older folks, there's a lot that these young folks have to offer. What's going on, TCK? Appreciate you. I think it's too many of us who are older who try to discourage and down these youngins, for living their life, excuse me, and we forget what it was like to be a kid. I think it's important never to forget what it's like to be a kid, what it's like to deal with the struggles, the strains, the things that people go through, especially now with what these kids are dealing with now on social media, how they get bullied and there's cyberbullying and stuff like that. So I could only imagine, or maybe I can imagine, what that would be like, because I've never had to deal with that, as far as technology constantly, controlling every aspect of your life and, just it becoming so many pressures, social pressures and whatnot, even if you put a profile online and stuff like that, how people would pick at you or go at you or try to, find out information about you and your family and stuff like that. There's so many different things going on. So, understanding where these youth are coming from, and maybe the lack of support or love that they may have in this day and age is important. So don't be so quick to dismiss the youngins. Hear them out first and see where they're coming from. I don't agree with everything that they do, but I don't have to disparage them and discourage them because I was young once too. I was somebody out in the street, out and about doing things, not knowing what, which way is up, just trying to find direction, just trying to find hope, peace, solace, or maybe not at all. So it's crazy. I heard that a kid can have a really bad environment, but if they have one good positive adult, that child they had a good chance of success. Yes, I agree with you on that too, TCK. It's a situation where sometimes all it takes is one person to really care. That one older person, that one wise person, that one person that gives a darn about, whether or not, that individual is going to be something or somebody. You never know. All it takes is one, And then as for the youth, you have to remember, in one instant while you're young, you will become old. You will become, that youth that you're looking at. I mean, you will become that older person that you despise sometimes. You can be, and you can become, somebody who's looking down at the youth that you once were. If you can share some experiences of your past, maybe you can guide them in a positive way. Yes, creative redundancy, you can, you know. And I tell, older folks out there, when you encounter these youngins, the best thing that you can do, the most positive thing you can do is to give them a future. That's the old timer told me. You can give them a future, you give them hope, you can push them in the right direction instead of just looking at the ways that they're different and the things that they're doing. If they got pink or yellow or green hair, There's some of us that came from the 80s and 90s who had pink and green and yellow hair. I mean, once upon a time, believe it or not, George truly dyed his hair. So that's just one of those things. But we ain't gonna talk about that. We'll hide those pictures, burn them. Maybe somebody else will bring them out. If I get married one of these days, who knows? Mm. But anyway, like I was saying, there's so much like creative redundancy was saying you can teach and pass on to the youth. Everything doesn't have to be a confrontation. Everything doesn't have to be, oh, these kids are stupid, or these kids don't know no better, or these kids this, that, and the third. Now, granted, we're going to look at these kids and we're going to see some things that we don't like. We're going to see some things we can't stand. But don't be so quick to disparage them and knock them down. When I was a kid growing up in the hood, things were bad, but I still remember the words of a few adults that only paid me a compliment once, and to this day, I can remember the small moment in life. That's what's up. That's definitely what's up. What's going on, Cargo 619? Thank you for coming through. I just say that the divide between the old and the young comes from, a lack of understanding or people being afraid, to accept the fact that times are changing, that people will do things in different ways, but in so many ways it's the same as what we've done when we were kids, and folks older than us, we were out there trying to be heard and trying to be loved and wanting attention, you know, not to, looking for adults to just, accept us for who we are, being teenagers or young kids trying to find our way in the world, And I tell people, that are older, don't be so quick to judge these kids because at one point you were a kid too that made mistakes, that did stupid stuff, that got yourself in trouble. I was a brat. Well, yeah, but see, here's the thing about that, Carla 619. Here's the thing about being a brat. The thing is relating those experiences, to to these kids. That's what helps. What's going on, Patch? Appreciate you for coming through. There's always been that way, but now we are grown ups. What kinds of adults are we? Exactly. And that's something that you look at, TCK. What kind of adults are we? What examples do we set for these youngins? Because sometimes we're so quick to lecture these youngins and preach to them and tell them, the ways that they should live and whatnot and how they should be. But then we don't realize, that we have things that we have to learn as adults ourselves too. Mm. I'm 37 and I'm still learning. I'm 37 and I still don't have it all figured out. 37 and I still have so much more to learn. I have so much more that I could, fight for, that I could strive towards, that I could do. I tell people, don't, I mean, especially for those who have kids, first be quick to listen, then to speak, yeah, TCK, it's all good, but, you look like, you look a lot younger than I do, I mean, even though I have the boyish grin, my kids are much better behaved than I was, but I'm also a much different type of parent than what I think made the difference. Yeah, well, that's true though, Cargo, but true as that may be, you're somebody who said, you know what? I'm going to take a different perspective, a different approach. Don't be so quick to judge your kids and their generation and just smash them down and say that they're useless or worthless or they'll never amount to nothing or they're the dumbest generation, as some people may have said. Because these kids, they need us in a lot of different ways, and in many ways we've let them down. Generations past. We're so quick to say what they're not doing and what they're not learning, and different principles and stuff like that are not being passed down. Or things are not being respected or whatever the case may be. But from generations past, we've let certain negativities exist, and not to knock certain things, but it is about a different approach. I took a different approach from my kids, but also hold accountable for screwing up and making bad decisions after showing them good decisions they should be making. Well, that's awesome, Patch. There's nothing wrong with that. Definitely I encourage that. But it's important not to judge these kids for making mistakes when we've all made mistakes as well. And that's what I don't like. I don't like when, the older timers, the old folks, the ones with parents or people, grandparents or whatever, all of a sudden act like they were perfect, when they were kids. And when they see their grandchildren and children making mistakes, you have to remember, it is important to remember what it was like to be a kid. Because a lot of times, we forget the experiences that some of these kids may be going through. You know what I'm saying? This generation makes the same mistakes over and over again. Is the problem when the youngins don't learn from the mistakes? Well, that is true, but that could be said of generations past, Patch. I mean, And I definitely agree with you on that TCK. Great job. Cargo changing the positives from a negative. So it's really one of those things where you say to yourself, yes, you want to hold them accountable, Pat. You want to hold the kids accountable for screwing up. But at the same time, don't be so harsh on these kids. Don't be so quick to lay down the hammer on these kids with understanding that they have a lot more pressures than we have. Maybe they have advantages, certain advantages, but they have a lot more pressures. Not nearly as much as the current generation. They seem hell bent to keep repeating the same mistakes and complaining and getting the same results. Well, that may be the case. I mean, you can't help everybody. You can't save everybody, Patch. That I say. You speak and try to reach and teach the ones that you can. That's what I'm saying. I don't believe they have a lot more precious different ones, but yes, not more. Well, some people may make that argument, that they don't have more pressures or whatever the case may be. I mean, I think is a different aspect because they have a lot of these preconceived things which comes from being online. There's a lot more pressure, peer pressure, or there's a lot more, attention or hyper focused things, coming from being online. Stuff that may not be real to me and you, Patch, because we come from different generations. We come from times where, hey, we may have existed in our childhoods without cell phones and all this technology and stuff like that. I didn't even see a computer in my home until I was, realistically, 18, 19 or something like that. They got a computer in the house or something like that. Mm. And internet, don't talk about that. We talk about dial-up service. They actually have far more advantages than when they grow up. Yeah, yeah, they do. I didn't have a cell phone until I was in my 30s. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't have a cell phone until I was 21, so I could relate. I mean, I'm in my 30s now. I'm 11 years older than you are. Yeah, well, I get it, Patch. I definitely get it, Patch. We definitely did have some rough times. I'll give it that. But I mean, online they have all these perceived pressures and everything is hyper focused and whatnot. Maybe you're right. I don't know. But the thing is to not try to judge these kids for being who they are. I think it's more of a point to try to understand, who really had color TV when I was growing up. Well, did I have color TV? Wow. When did I get a color TV? I probably didn't get a color TV till I was in my teens. But I get where you're coming from, Patch. I'm not knocking you on that one. It's just interesting, I mean, but I think it's so many different things so many stories, so many things that we can learn from each other. As the older generations look into the younger generations, they'll be so quick to judge them, not be so quick to just smash them down when they make mistakes. And I think that's what happens with a lot of older folks. It's our job to judge our kids to prevent them from becoming worthless and subhuman in society. Well, I disagree with you on that, Patch. I don't think it's our job to judge our kids. It's Shakespeare said it. He said it. He said, "Judge the fault, not the actor of it." Meaning that if you're gonna judge anything, say that the action was wrong. You know, not that the person will never change. Because when you judge somebody, when you judge a person, and you say that they're wrong, that's saying that they'll never change, that they can never move and do something. If you don't squash their bad behavior, they will continue behaving the way that they were. Well, you can correct the behavior or try to correct the behavior, but at the end of the day, I try not to judge the person. I remember the Dosmal used to say the same thing we were saying about us as young people. Yes, TCK, these are the same conversations me and Patrick are having right now, but the same conversations people probably used to have about us. You can judge a person by their actions, and if their actions correct themselves, then you can judge them differently. Well, I try not to judge the person because when you judge a person, you're honestly saying that that person is that, and they may never change. That's the danger of judging a person, and especially with us not being perfect. I'm not a perfect human being, so I mean, I'm not gonna go out there and start trying to judge folks. I mean, at least to the best of my ability. Keep learning regardless of age and become better. Try to relate to the past to someone. Some things might be a little different, but a certain degree still apply in the present. Yes, I agree with you, creative redundancy. I don't agree with your definition of judgment. Well, that's the beauty of it, Patch. I mean, you may not agree with the definition of judgment, but that's not my definition. Judgment isn't meant for the person. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I understand where you're coming from. You want to correct behaviors and you want to stop them from doing certain things, which you can. But I'll be careful with judgments because sometimes when you judge a person, they take it as if they'll never change. You may be coming from a place, Patch, where you're saying it's tough love, or you're saying, it's trying to correct the behavior. But if it doesn't come with that context, if it doesn't come in the proper context, it can become a very, narrow stereotype, pigeonhole type of thing. And that's what I try not to get into it. Judgment isn't a be all end all. Judgment is fluid like gender. Well, some people would say that, but see, when it comes to these kids, you have to be careful, because see, us as adults, I know that if you're judging my actions, or you're looking at me in a certain way because of my actions, I can understand as a grown man, as somebody with wisdom or certain knowledge, intelligence, I can understand that. A 15 or 16-year old may not, a 5 or 6-year old may not understand, when you're, judging them, and it's really more about their actions. If you don't sit down and explain that to them, if you don't show them and walk them through it step by step, you can do some harm to that child. Like, for instance, if you call the child a loser, or if you call the child a thief, you just say the child will never be anything, then you can really take that child down a dark road. If I see a kid killing another kid, I'm gonna judge them and not a very good person. Well, you can say that, but here's the problem. I say that person did a bad thing, but I don't know what's in that person's heart. I mean, at the time, yeah, you can call them a thief. You can say that child did something which made them a thief. But I don't sit there and say that that child is always going to be a thief. There's always no good. Kind of like when kids does something stupid, so we say, "Why are you so stupid?" That I made a mistake. I believe that the other person correct behavior. Two things not the same. I believe in correcting the behavior, but I don't believe in judging the person, because people can change. Something that somebody did in 15 to 16 shouldn't follow them, all the way up until their 40s and 50s. I mean, unless they committed a mass genocide or something like that, I don't know. And even then, people can change. But that's the problem with society. A lot of times, we look at people and we see them with the behaviors and things that they have done, and we automatically assume that that's how that person is and that's how that person will be. Let me see. It says that's not judging. If you're labeled a kid as a loser, that's something completely different. Well, here's the thing, Patch. There are people who judge their kids. They call them a loser. They call him a thief, a no good degenerate. You'll say you never was ish and you never be ish. You know what I'm saying? So that's judgment. That's judgment when you're telling somebody there's something and they'll never change. There's something and they can never be different. Now, my thing is, if a person is a thief, especially when you're talking to the young kids, you want to say, okay, you did something wrong. You're considered a thief in this moment. How do we change this? How do we correct this? How do we, put this in a situation where we could turn that around? But if you don't do that and you just treat the person like a criminal because of something that they did one time, then that could become a self-fulfilling prophecy. That could become a narrative that they start to believe and follow for their life. You never know what situation that person was coming from, that young person or whatever. Society making kids entitled and not making them strong enough to survive without being pampered and coddled. Yeah, well, I'll say this, Patch. I'm not saying that the kids should be pampered and coddled. Nah, they shouldn't be. But at the same time, they shouldn't be judged and stereotyped and categorized and put into, a pigeonhole situation. They shouldn't have things stripped of them, their dignity stripped of them. If anything, they should be taught. Yes, if a child does something wrong, does something, that's harmful to another person, I'm not saying let it go, look the other way, turn the other cheek, or nothing like that. No, if a person is supposed to be punished for a certain thing, and that's coming to them, then that's something that they have to learn to deal with and let them face with that. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the same measure, it will be measured to you. Exactly, TCK. Exactly. So be careful. The way that you judge other folks or the way that people will judge you, because a lot of the things what happens is, if you're gonna judge, make sure you're objective. If you're gonna start judging people, make sure you see the whole picture. Make sure you look at the whole person, the negative and the positive, and begin to see a whole person as opposed to just one side of the picture. And a lot of times people do that. They see one side and they're ready to condemn a person. Person might have done something one time, and you say this is who that person will always be, and sometimes they're a child. So the reason that hurts when it comes to the divide between the old and the young is that that kid could be changing. That kid could want to change, but sometimes the language that we use, the way that we come at, these children, these youngins, is something to where, what, it's not an understanding part from us. It's just it comes off as if we're closed minded. We're not open to the fact of them being able to change. And I'm not saying let the kids off the hook. If the kid did something wrong and they need to be tried as an adult, then so be it. Let's not turn a blind eye to that. Things of the past don't necessarily dictate one's future. Not everything is set in stone, but yet some things can be, though. This is true creative redundancy. Some things can be set in stone. Some things can be put in motion that will never go away. But the thing is to try to prevent that from happening if possible. Especially with those kids that realize they've made mistakes, especially with those folks that really want to change. I mean, I remember just talking about recently the rapper XXXTentacion, was somebody that got killed, and he was a kid that was basically out there in the streets doing negative things, and he was trying to change his life around. And at the time he was trying to change his life around, you get gunned down outside of a motorcycle, a motorcycle place or whatever the case, trying to buy, or purchase something or whatever the case may be. So you never know. Sometimes people just get judged for their past and whatnot. And when you're young, it's never fair. Things of the past don't necessarily dictate one's future. I mean, not everything has to be set in stone, but sometimes people are so judgmental, people are so warped and backwards and closed-minded that, they want to just, look at a person and say that's who you'll always be. If somebody is 18 and 19 years old, we want to say that that's the person that they'll always be. And, if you really have it in your heart, which is a struggle for a lot of us at times, if you really care about, seeing that person grow and prosper, you learn to let go. You learn to look and pray and say, hey, you know what? I hope that young person, I hope whoever that is, person going through whatever they're going through, I hope they can able to turn it around and do some other things with themselves and whatnot and get it together. And that's something that helps bridge the gap, between the old and the young. But back in the day, parents never sat down, explained things. Now I start to talk to my kids and like answer questions. Well, that's one of the things folks should do. And DC, I don't mind being judged by the way the others judge me. The difference is I have the spine to be judged by actions because the only thing we have going on is a person's actions. Well, no, Patch. That's not the only thing we have going on. It's about what's in a person's heart. So a person's actions is a result of what's going on in a person's heart, mind, and soul. These things come out of the inner body, the inner man, the inner woman. If you can affect and influence that, who knows what you can do? You can definitely, move in a direction, to where, hey, you know what? Maybe you can influence that person to change. I have this. I pose this to you, Patch. What if you came across a kid, right, who committed murder, right, and this kid was influenced by you to the point where they changed their whole life around, or you knew that your words would help them to change their whole life around? Is it not worth trying to talk to that kid? Is it not worth not trying to judge that kid for the rest of their life? So these are things that I say to you. I mean, let's say if it's somebody who's, committed, rape or whatever the case may be, or stole something, or has been in prison, should that person be judged for that for the rest of their life? I mean, unfortunately, folks do get that. hmm I'm not advocating. I'm not advocating for the violence in any stretch, form, or fashion. But what people don't realize is that there is a such thing called forgiveness. There is a such thing called redemption. There is a such thing called understanding. Restitution. A restorative justice that's supposed to happen. If you're gonna have just justice or judgment come against somebody, let that judgment come with restoration. Then you judge them accordingly for their current actions. If they did the time and served the sentence, but they don't continue to do the negative behaviors, they come to a point. Well, here's the thing. I don't disagree with you on that, Patch, but here's the problem. Once people have served their time, once people have paid their debts to society, sometimes it still don't stop. And that's when I have a problem, especially when it comes to these youth. Some of these youth have paid their debts to society. Some of these youths have come out of prison and, they did something as a youngster. Now they're a little older and they're trying to get themselves together. and people still judge them, and people still look down on them, and people still see them as if it was just the same day as when they committed the crime or they did that negative act. And that's the flaw in humanity, to the point where we judge each other. And then when you turn around and you judge the person that's judging you, because of their negative behavior, now all of a sudden it's too much, so people don't like the spotlight turned on them, then you judge them accordingly. You can try, but try as you might, there's certain prejudices and things that come. I see the percentage of youth who come out of prison trying to change to be very small. Well, see, here's the thing: the percentage of youth coming out trying to change their life in prison, even if it's small, here's the problem. The problem is that small number of people still get lumped in with the large numbers that don't change. That's on the other person if they have their prejudice. Yeah, but here's the problem: it gets encouraged, it gets festered. Imagine if you had to be that person. Put yourself in that person's shoes, Patch. You've committed a crime. You've paid your debt to society, and you've done this as a youngster, and you're sorry. You're remorseful. You did everything possible to try to change, and no matter what you do, you have people who are older, prejudiced, bigots, stuck in their ways, telling you you ain't nothing and you ain't never gonna be nothing. It's crazy. Most of the time when boys act up, I then find out someone's funking up school adults. That shit at school, they just can't bring themselves to talk about it and listen to them. Besides that, with parents to teach them how to deal with it. Yes, I think as parents, as mentors, as older folks, it's important to talk to these kids, listen to these kids, try to teach them how to cope and deal with these situations, because we don't want them to do anything negative. We don't want them to turn around and shoot up schools and do stuff that's hurtful, harmful to themselves. Commit suicide and stuff like that. I think if anything, there's not enough folks out there, who are trying to, actually, get with these youth and steer them in the right direction. The movie Big comes to mind. Yeah, it does come to mind. Hmm. I don't know. It's a deep conversation. Okay, I forgot to call the baby killer murder because of the things I did in service as a young man. I was against it because of that very person I came. Well, that's real. That's real. I mean, I could understand and relate to that, but the thing is, Patch, there's people that could judge you for your past. And the reality is, whoever you were in your past is your past. People can change. And that's what I try to stress to these youth. That's what I try to stress to us, as older folks, people who have been around the block, people who have experienced things. Not to be so quick to tell these kids that they can't achieve, they can't grow, regardless of mistakes, regardless of how they do things, regardless of how they are different it may be from how it was back in our day to how it is in their day. You know what I mean? And not everybody has that ability. I didn't have the money or the family help for those issues, so I learned it on my own and did not anyone to thought it was. Yeah, well, true. Unfortunately, sometimes it's like that, Pat. Sometimes you feel like you gotta go at it on your own, or you don't have that support system, or whatever the case may be. So it is something to overcome. The only thing I'm trying to tell anybody from an older generation is put yourself in these kids' shoes. you know, Try to imagine as much as you can, what they go through, what they may face. Everyone has the ability to do this. It isn't something special, is my point. Nobody's saying anything like that, but sometimes people need that encouragement. Sometimes people need to know from somebody who's been there that it's possible to survive, horrific situations, that no matter what the obstacles are that you face, that you could come out on the other side of it. And sometimes, before these kids can hear any of that, they just get the judgment. They just get the smackdown. They don't get the real talk. They don't get the realness that should come, from a situation, where, they can have an honest conversation with an adult that really cares about them. Sometimes people will look at the way that these kids are dressed, or how they live in their life, or who they choose to love, or what God they choose to worship or not worship. And sometimes we'll just, dismiss these kids, and don't just dismiss these kids. It's even a struggle with myself not to just dismiss these kids when they talk to you, when they have questions, when they make mistakes, when they need to be, just loved. Don't be afraid to love them. Don't be afraid to, get in front of them and really talk to them. Sometimes we may be annoyed. Sometimes you may want to smack them up, but don't do that. Just understand that they're people too. They're in places that we've been before. Um, and this younger generation is being coddled way too much. They don't have their feeling, the fear of getting in trouble or doing anything or doing anything. Most things they're older because they're breathing. Well, I mean, but that's something you could talk to them about. It's something you could have a conversation with them about. I mean, because there's probably a lot of people that may have said that for my generation and your generation. There's people may have said, who do these kids think they are? Like it's just it's crazy. Okay, TCK is speaking to you. But I don't know. I definitely could understand where you're coming from as far as these kids being coddled and whatnot. It's a situation where you don't want to baby these kids. You do want to teach them how to cope and how to deal with life and stuff like that. I mean, are there too many kids out there that feel entitled, that feel like the world is all about them? Yes, I can definitely relate and agree with that. But at the same time, they're in places that we've been. They're going through stuff, maybe just it looks different, you know, but there's stuff that we can try to pass down, and you pass it down to the willing. Those that want to listen, those that want to learn, you speak to them. Those that don't, you leave them to their own devices. That's just that simple. While hanging around, so that's what it tell you. That's what it tell you. That's what it tells you, man. And you saying some positive feedback to help you heal and move on. Well, thank you for that, Patch. I appreciate it. Well, I hang around you as well because you're a real person. Uh, yeah. It's good to surround yourself with positive people, and that's one of the things I say when it comes to these youth. I mean, when you find a youth that really wants to listen, when you find a youth that really wants to see the world as it is, doesn't want to be coddled, that wants to know about things, that wants to be, a product, a positive, product of society. You try to surround them with as much wisdom and positive advice as you can. You try to teach them as much as you can. A lot of times negative feedback makes you strive for to be better. It depends on who you are, Patch. It definitely depends on who you are. Keep sharing those real moments that you have gone through because you can't see the other halfway got them. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Creative redundancy. You try to keep sharing the real moments with them and whatnot, and some folks will listen. Some of the youngins will listen. Some of them won't. And a lot of times, as older folks, we have to be willing to listen, adept to listening to what they have to say as well. Because sometimes we speak and we feel as if they're only there to listen to us. And it's vice versa. We can learn from each other. We can learn from these kids, just where they're coming from, whatever standpoint of view they have on life, or how they may not have had the most positive role models in their life. There's still a lot of kids out there coming from broken homes. There's still a lot of kids out there who are hopeless and have no way out. Suicide rates are up. All kind of stuff is going on. School shootings are up. There has to be something that's going on. Most people won't listen. We didn't listen when when we were kids. We thought we were smarter, and older people didn't have a clue. She was nice and negative, only 10% love there. That's is a major imbalance. Yeah, there's a major imbalance, but I say to this, even with the major imbalances, even with the kids thinking that they know it all, even with them thinking that the adults don't have a clue, even with them having it better than a lot of us have had, still love them anyway. Still try to teach them anyway. Still try to give them that concern, that care anyway, because a lot of times that's what happened with a lot of us. We were trying to strive and grow and do things, and we pushed, and there was a lot of people out there who may have given up on us. There were adults, there were people in our family, friends that may have given up on us. So, who knows what would happen if you don't give up on these kids. Now, don't get me wrong, if a child wants to grow and be bad and break bad and do what they want to do, then you don't hold them from that. You let them be. You let them see what the world is about. But if there's a kid out there that needs encouragement, that needs a little extra push, that needs a few moments of your time, it can't hurt. What could it hurt just to listen? Sometimes I speak to people, be it they young, old, whatever. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just listen. Screwing up, and you can never give up until you turn and prove that you don't want to follow the good path. Yeah, no, definitely, definitely, definitely. Like I said, Pat, sometimes all people need is the encouragement. Sometimes, we're in our older age and we need that encouragement. We need to know that there's folks that care about us. As we get older as well. Yes, Random Life Productions, never give up, never give up on them. Um, when it comes to these kids, I mean, I think one of the problems I see is that there's too many people in society, who are older, who are of a different mind, who are ready to just dismiss these kids. Don't dismiss them. You never know who these kids have the potential to be. You never know who these kids may influence. These kids may influence somebody that you're connected to, kids that you may have in the future. What's going on, Helga's Pennsylvania cooking? Sorry about that. I'm just a little tired right now, but I tell anybody out there that's connected to the youth and whatnot. Yes, midnight snack. Yeah, no, no problem, Patch. I'll be here for a few minutes. I'll stay here. I'll stay here and wait for you. But I'll be talking to the people in the chat, and then I've always done things on my own. Well, here's the thing, Patch. You don't always have to do things on your own. I mean, but the thing is, you want to encourage these youth and try to, let them know that there's people that care about them. There's people that while they may not agree with everything that they do in this day and age, you know what? There's some people that give a damn about their life, and sometimes they can keep people alive. I want to tell you what was who show format is going to be what I go. Okay, cool, 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 Patch. I'll be here. I'll try to be here. I'll try to stay awake. Some kind words can change lives. Yes, they can. And the thing I try to say this to, as far as for the older folks when speaking to the young, is remember those things that weren't said to you. Remember those things that would have made the difference for you. Those things that may have been said to you by strangers. Like TCK was saying in the chat. Sometimes it is a stranger. Sometimes that says one kind, positive word to you that changes your whole life. Maybe it's one gesture. That may have shifted your whole life because it was somebody who cared enough about you to say, hey, you know what? I see something special in this kid. I see something in that person that can be cultivated. Maybe I can plant the seed. And I tell people sometimes you're not going to change every kid's life. You're not going to, resonate with a lot of the youth. They may say you're old. They may say you're washed up. They may say you're tired. You're bullocks, whatever. But the reality is not all of them will. And one of them you may plant the seed in, and it may grow and be watered over time. You never know. It's like the old timer told me, the best thing that you can give a child is a future, and how you give the child a future is, teaching them some things, showing them some things. Even if they rebel against it, you try to make the offer, leave the olive branch and whatnot. Sometimes it's not easy, It may be indirect, but helping one's kids that's may share it with their friends, spread positive and constructive things. And the reason I say this, yes, I agree with you, creative redundancy. The reason I say this is because there's so many negative things that spread out there in the world that, why not try to, spread something positive? Why not try to bridge the gap with these youth? Why not try to just relate to them as human beings? Why not try to see them just as the creative spirits or the souls that they can be? I remember there was a song by Tevin Campbell, and sometimes I cry when I hear the song because it was like I guess in kindergarten, going off the first grade, and he said, and then the lyrics were saying, tomorrow will bring a better you, a better me. You know, we'll show this world that we have hopes, we have dreams. I mean, it's about showing these kids, man, they got hopes, they got dreams that they could be somebody that is possible, to fight through and survive. Um, I can't stress it enough. People underestimate, the impact that their life has on other people. I think it was Jackie Robinson's wife who quoted him saying that a life is important, that it should never underestimate the impact that it has on other people. Never underestimate the impact that you may have on these youth. Never underestimate the impact that you may have on a stranger. You may you may see one of the craziest things that not the craziest things, but one of the um and there was a kid with Down syndrome that came up to me, and the kid was saying hello to me and just taking the time out to speak to me. And I remember when this kid came up to me and spoke to me that I was just taken aback. I was like, wow, it's crazy that this kid would take the time out of his day to come back. Kid was walked back into the church and said hi to me and said have a nice day and be safe. And I remember it to this day. And I say it's a special thing. This youth, man. I mean, don't yeah, yeah. No, it's an awesome song, TCK. You gotta listen to the lyrics. The problem is that these people are young, frightened, and vulnerable, and have gotten themselves in the wrong place. Yes, this is true, Random. And a lot of times we as adults, we see them and we see the middle of the story. We see them at the point where they're messing up. We see them at the point where they've done something destructive, but we haven't seen the backstory. We haven't seen what led them to destructive behavior. We haven't seen the abuse in the home. We haven't seen the turning of the back on by society. We haven't seen the ridicule, the judgment. We haven't seen, all the negativity that may come from their peers. We just see the kid or the person, the young person at that point, and not realizing that they may have been sexually abused by their family, or they may have been beat up, in school, or, maybe, they've had, other adults do things to them that weren't too cool or whatever the case. You never know, what I'm saying? They may have issues of drug abuse in the home. I mean, you never know where these kids are coming from. So when you see them and you see the behavior and stuff like that, you want to be careful not to be quick to judge them and dismiss them. Be the youth's friend, show that they are not alone in the struggles of life. Yeah, create a better future today. I mean, you try. I mean, maybe this stuff is a little too deep for some folks. I understand, because even me, I'm trying not to shed a little tear, nothing like that. But I just think about how we as older folks shouldn't be so quick to judge, shouldn't be so quick to, shoot these kids down, no pun intended or whatever, to dismiss them. Because sometimes in us dismissing them and pushing them away and not being willing to hear their stories, sometimes we've given up on them and they give up on themselves, and they think their life don't mean nothing, and they think their contribution ain't about nothing. They have nothing to contribute. And I tell you, youngsters out there, you youth, I don't think you're gonna watch this, but if you do happen to hear it or it's shared to you, you get to this part in the live stream, I say that you youth, you have something to contribute. I say to the older folks out there, you have something to contribute. We have things to contribute to each other, old and young. you know, and what we have is experiences, perspectives, sometimes a fresh set of eyes in the youth, sometimes a clinical eye in the older folks, or I'm taking the time out deliberately to speak on these things because they're important. Our youth are our future. They're the generations of life that will go on after many of us are gone off this planet. And I hope these words resonates. I don't think the youth are afraid. That's too generalized a label, but I see it very different than what you may see in your area. Well, here's the thing, Patch. I come up in different places. TCK comes up in different places. A lot of us come from different places in the world. Random comes from different places. I've seen some hellacious things. I've seen some kids go through some things. I can tell you some stories that'll make you cry. With all your experience. With all your life. Some of the things that these kids may go through. Yeah, some of them are jerks. Some of them are coddled. Some of them are entitled. Some of them, deserve whatever they got coming to them. But not all of them. And even for the ones that got some things coming to them, even they too can change. And because I'm not God, because I'm not the ultimate judge of people because I'm not perfect, you know, myself. You know, I just realized that's the moon. I can see the moon through my curtain. Hopefully that's not a camera. But anyway, paranoia. Um, yeah, this is a review chat thing. I had to go. Yeah, no. Thank you TCK for being here. I appreciate you. I'm gonna try to make this an hour live stream because I need to do my last hour live stream for the month. You know, so I give you another 10 minutes. I can tell you some things that my growing up that will make you understand how the channel name if it's your home to the horrible person. Well, I can relate to that. Anybody that's willing to call themselves or name their channel name the man who refused to die. Me and you did speak about that, but I'm not gonna put your business out there like that. But definitely I can definitely relate to that, you know. So that's just what it is. Sorry about that. I seen an update come across my stream. Um, do, 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 do. Yeah, sorry about that. Somebody was putting somebody was putting something out about a beef or something like that. I ain't got nothing to do with it. Sorry about that. I got distracted and I got sideswiped for a second. But that's what that's what it is. I don't know. This is just a passionate subject to me, or whatever the case may be. Sorry about that, Patch. Somebody sent the message out there. I got distracted by the message, but then real quick, I'm going to be talking. I'm taking my show on the road, going to these political protests and videoing the goings ons. Be safe out there, Patch, because these political. Hey, what's going on, Technetic Beats? Be safe out there, Patch. If you're gonna go to these political events and taking your show on the road, there are people out there with some strong opinions and some even, you know, stronger fists, you know, and just be safe out there, man. You know, whatever you do, I know you're gonna have some strong opinions and you're gonna have some things that you want to say as well too. Just be safe, you know, because we have a lot of crazy, psycho and deranged people in this world on this planet. You know, people that are willing to do some things just because they have a difference of opinion. License. Yeah, okay. Hopefully it doesn't get to that patch. How am I doing Technetic Beats? I'm actually doing a lot better. We was just in this live stream. There was some deep moments, there's some serious moments. I know, forgive me folks. I can be a little bit analytical, too analytical at times, but maybe that's just how my mind works. Maybe that's why somebody like Patch, me and Patch can get along so well because he's analyzing and breaking down stuff, and I'm analyzing and breaking down stuff, and you know that's what it is. Totally, yeah. No, definitely, definitely, definitely. Um, I got so much on my mind, and I know you do too, Patch. I mean, I got so much that I could talk about. This is a subject right here with the divide between the old and the young. You know, I could talk about for hours. You know, thank you, Creative Redundancy. It sounds like you about to get out of here too, but I'm gonna make this an hour chat. You know, and then I'm gonna, you know, skedaddle. You know, as I say, you know, because I got to get some sleep myself. But for the most part, you know, hey, what's going on, Technetic Beats? I see you. I definitely see you, my brother. How are you doing, Technetic Beats? And also too, I want to thank everybody for being here. I know Molly Dolly was here at some point, you know, but she's somewhere, and I'm surprised I didn't see Lulu Love You in here. And thank you for Random Life Productions for coming through. That was awesome, you know, friend from the UK. You know, definitely awesome to see you here. Technetic Beats, Creative Redundancy. You know, I'm trying to think. There was some other people lurking in the background. Thank you for the 7 thumbs up. I forgot to ask you for the thumbs up or whatever. The only thing is that even though we disagree, we still show respect and love and no insults to each other. Well, Patch, I'm not a insulting type of person. I try to keep a civil discourse because I respect you as a man, as a person, somebody who served the country. So, you know, definitely, you know, I have no qualms or no issues with you as well. You know, so I mean, I don't have to, you know, how can I say? I don't have to agree with you to be your friend. I don't have to agree with you to have a civil conversation. And it's not like we disagree on everything, you know. Massively respectable. Yeah, well, I try to be respectable. You know, you try to model that because one of the things I'll say about going on Patch's channel, I've never got any disrespect. You know, I've always gotten nothing but love and respect on his channel, and not just from him, which is important. I've gotten respect from Patch, his panels, the people in the chat. I mean, there was no disrespect. There was never any animosity or hostility. It was always like, if anything, it was like, wow, we don't believe he's here, but for the most part, I still, I can have a conversation with anybody. On a positive note, my niece went off the rails and we continue the positive feedback. She was transformed so much in the last couple of years. That's good. That's awesome, Random. That's definitely awesome. I didn't know you were still in the chat, but thank you for being here, Random. It's awesome. It's an awesome thing, when positive feedback, can change, a young person's life and cause them to do something worthwhile. Because I think that should be pushed and modeled and put out there and celebrated. When a child or a youngin does what they're supposed to do. When are you gonna body one of my beats with them bars? Oh, okay. Technetic Beats. You must have been reading my mind. I was thinking about that. You must have seen my comments that I left in your in one of your videos. Yeah, I see you. I'm inspired. I see some things there that's inspired me. But we'll get into that another time. We'll definitely get into that another time. But back to what you were saying, random. I do appreciate that. However, one likes to wait just to try to make it better is worse than the bounce off the moon. Indirectly saying, there you go. I'm still waiting for the Technetic to make me an intro. Yeah, we need that. We need that intro for Patch, the man that refused to die. We need a fire beat. We need Patch coming out. He just looking like he ready for the militia. Something really, that reflects the man who refused to die. But back to what you were saying, Random. That's definitely awesome. I belong to three militias. Oh my God. Oh, mm. I don't know about the malicious Patch, but I belong to the streets. I belong to Brooklyn. But anyway, we're gonna leave that alone. That's another story. I remember my brother said he signed to the streets. Oh my God, that's funny. That's funny. That's funny. Shout out to 90 Glock if you're out there somewhere. I love you, bro. It's all good. People making connections in these chats. Oh, okay. People giving out email addresses and whatnot. I agree with what you do. Yeah, yeah, I know. Thank you. I enjoyed the stream. Hour goes fast. Take care. And everyone in the chat. Yeah, not creative redundancy. This hour did go by quick. Really quick. Really quick. I didn't even know if I could do an hour or whatever on this one, but I was pushing it. I'm going to tell you what I really started to talk about. And it's kind of funny that Patch is here. The topic that I was really going to talk about, but I pulled back on, time flies when you're having fun. Yeah. And this is going to be crazy, Patch, when I tell you the topic I really was going to talk about. I said, I don't know if this is too controversial. I was thinking to myself, I was like, the topic was, should, white people be allowed to use the N-word? And I was like, should I talk about that? You have to see her in the next vlog. Now I'm off to Spain with her this week. Well, I look forward to seeing that. I look forward to seeing that Random Life. If I don't see it, just hit me a link in the Google Hangouts if I forget it. I do want to check that out. I got to go by your channel, and I do appreciate you for being here. But yeah, Patch, I was going to talk about a controversial issue, in the chat, and I pulled back, and I was like, let me talk about something different. Personally, I hate the word, but the word only has power if you let it. I never use the word. I despise it. Well, that's one of the things that I was saying. Yeah, no, definitely I agree with creative redundancy there at Random Life. Have a safe trip out there to Spain. I think, didn't Keith go to Spain? Yeah, no. I could relate to that, Patch. I could relate to that, Patch. I don't know. Maybe you can answer that question, Random. I think Keith went to Spain not too long ago. I mean, everybody going to Spain now. Maybe I need to go out to Spain, find me a wife or something. You know what I mean? Or just sightseeing or whatever. Um, he said, "Pack me in your suitcase." That's funny. Shoot, pack me in your suitcase if you can too, or just take me along as your security, Random. I'll protect you and your niece. Be like the what is that movie, Taken? But I don't want you to get taken. But like I said, I'll be like the bodyguard or something. I don't know. You're gonna stand outside the hotel room or something. I don't know. But anyway, that's just what that is. Yeah, Patch. But yeah, he did for a month, right? I was thinking about that. Gail. I was thinking, yeah, Keith did go away. You know, he was looking so relaxed. So I know, I expect some vlogs from you out there. You're gonna be looking all relaxed, and you're gonna have your tan going, and you're gonna have your random life productions from Spain. I'm almost jealous of you out there. Oh my God, I need to go on vacation. I have never been to Spain, but I have been to Italy and Japan and the Middle East. That's crazy. I would like to go to Japan. There's two places I have to go. I have to go to Japan, and I have to go to London. I have to get out there before I die. You know, I cannot die from this earth before I get out to London and Japan. You know, maybe India, and after that, you know, everything else is a toss up. You know, there's some places that I want to see. You know, probably off camera I'll talk about that, but you know, yeah, there's a lot of places to see in the world. And I encourage people, if you get a chance, come on out to New York, Brooklyn. You know, you'll need protection. She's a martial arts ninja. Listen, 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 random, random. Whoa, 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 whoa. I can't believe you said that, random. I don't know if I need protection. I know your niece is a ninja, but you ain't seen some of my skills. Uh, Listen, you're about to make me cry, Randy. You're about to make me cry. I wish I could say I do the same. I mean, I'm from the projects, so I ain't got the space, but one of these days, I will have some arrangement, you know. But you're about to make me cry. She will protect you with the 5 hours. See, listen, 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 listen. I don't know if you heard about Mel Mel. You know, see, so I'll show you some of my moves, some of my hit you with the see, I was so fast you didn't even see all that. Like I said, I know your niece random has ninja moves, right? I know she's a martial arts ninja, but I mean, listen, I could teach her some of the black food, you know what I'm saying? Like the judo, judo know I got a gun, like I said, I don't know, but anyway, nah, I mean, I could teach her some survival tactics, some skills, from the streets of Brooklyn, the Brooklyn food, I mean, maybe she could show me a couple of moves, random. I appreciate your niece, and I won't take away from the martial arts, They call me like the black Bruce Lee on these streets, I'm like Bruce Leroy or something, Bruce Leroy Jr., out here, catching bullets with my teeth, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you ever saw The Last Dragon, but that's a depiction of my life. You know what I'm saying? I got the glow. Yeah, yeah, there you go, there you go. But I appreciate that, random. Tell your niece I got the glow. You are the last dragon. You possess the power of the glow. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, random, if you're still there, I need you to show that last part to your niece. She may be impressed by that. Free of charge. Don't worry. For your niece, anything. It's all good. If she need a lesson or teacher, she want to take it to like the 20th degree black belt. Just tell her. Holla at Mel Mel. I got her. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Woo. You know what I'm saying? Oh man. I feel like I should charge somebody after that. But in a serious note, though, thank you, folks, for being here, for my craziness, for my madness. Thank you for sticking with me this whole hour. I appreciate you folks that have jumped in, that have jumped out, that have been here roundabout. Out here playing it back for her. See, listen, listen. I don't want her to get intimidated. Random. You play it back for her. Tell her, look, my moves are. I don't even know if you know how many hands I had up at the same time, but tell her, look, don't be intimidated when she see how I get down. I'll get her to respond. Listen, listen, she can respond. Tell her if she ever need a lesson, I can fly out there, and give a personal lesson. What's going on, RT? Appreciate you for being here. I didn't know you were here. Thank you for making a comment. Good night to you. That's just what it is right now. This is just a portion of the live stream where I was talking a little trash, truth, to Random Life Productions. I mean, like I said, I'm a Brooklyn ninja too, I won't reveal my name on the live stream or whatever the case may be, but it is what it is. They know about me in them streets, so it is what it is, as it pertains to that. I don't know. Thank you for being here once again, folks. Wu Tang. Wu Tang forever. Game over. Game over. I see you. Game over. Wu Tang forever. You know, I was just, I don't even know who's in and out this chat. There's so many cool people that have been in and out this chat. Trying to be respectful to you folks. Appreciate the 8 thumbs up. I know I probably got some good watch time. 5 people, 6 people. I think it was mostly 6 people or whatever the case may be. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff in here, and now I think I am really gonna go. So, as always, as a Brooklyn ninja that I am, spread love. It's the Brooklyn way, and for dramatic effect, I gotta cut the light out for you. I'm a ninja. They don't even know. What the? Tell you, man. Nobody was harmed during this live stream. Take care.